What's up, folks? You are tuned into the Failing Frequency. I am Ethan,
And I'm Mike.
and we like talking about Star Trek.
We do indeed. And what track are we talking about this week?
Well, we got some news for you. We got some updates on the upcoming final season of Star Trek Picard and beyond, question mark. We got some comic book previews for all the nerds out there. And then we're going to cap off the nonsense we started talking about last week in part 2 of Conspiracy Trek. But before we get into any of that, how you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good. I overall, I'm fucking tired. I'm on my third run or third week where I'll probably put in 60 plus hours working in front of a computer, and I'm sick of it. But
Man, that's not
all's fun. All's fun. How you doing?
good for your eyes, mate.
No, I look at I've got a decent sized TV because I'm a fucking nerd who saved up ridiculous money for it, and I look at it from like a meter away, and I should be able to see it. I'm just like, no, I need my glasses on now. I've gone proper cross-eyed from looking at a screen constantly. So that's all fun.
Yeah.
How about yourself though? How are you doing?
Well, I've been doing a fair bit of research for this week's episode, and I've been slowly feeling the brain cells vacating my brain like rats out of a sinking ship.
Yep.
So today I took it easy on myself and spent most of the day looking at videos of dogs with their lips caught on their teeth.
Oh, fun.
Oh,
Oh.
what you looking at?
Yeah.
What? Oh. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
See this hat? I got a new hat. Found
I
it.
do.
It's in the lost property.
Yeah.
I'm such a gannet.
You are the finder of things,
Mate, in after the end times come, man. Like
it's all going to be found stuff.
Mate, I'm going to be finding all sorts and trading all sorts. I'm going to be fine. You're all going to be fucked.
Yeah. What am I going to do for a job in the end times? No one's going to need my services in the end times.
I don't know. Do you know how to use a soldering iron?
I do, but I wouldn't know what to solder together or solder together,
shit.
really.
No.
Yeah.
Figure
That
something
kind of
out.
yeah.
You could become a wise man.
I mean, I would have to start, trying to be wise now, and that's not going to happen.
No, trust me. If anything, my research over the past week or two has taught me is that, most people who proclaim to be wise are full of shit.
I think my targeted, career path in the end times is, what's the dragon one with McConaughey?
Oh, the dragon one with McConaughey.
Yeah, whatever film that is, like where there's dragons in London and whatever, and they skydive onto them.
Yeah,
there's a guy there where they just retell Star Wars, and it's just like, no, that's a story I came up with. That's my end career path, really, in the apocalypse, is being someone who has stupid memory when it comes to TV shows and nothing else.
Finger puppets.
Yeah,
you can do that. Can you see what's on the wall there?
I can.
You just use your imagination, and it can be anything.
Yeah. I'm get little Punch and Judy like Star Trek figures out, and Data hits everyone and takes over the ship.
Nope, too exact. I'm serious. For this episode of the Failing Frequency, I'm really gonna need you to use your imagination.
Oh Christ!
Like one thing I've learned about amateur archaeologists,
a
lot of imagination in there.
Yeah. Let's go news anyway. What's happening in the world of news? What's happening in the world of Trek this week?
We've had some updates on Star Trek Picard. We've had more of Terry Matalas just saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But this week, like we were talking about before in the green room, little something extra, talking about how the villains for this series aren't necessarily filling a villain role. Now, yeah, so in an interview with SFX magazine, Terry Batalla says, "Oh, there are certainly villains in the way that you would know them as villains, but they're not traditionally villains, meaning I don't know that they will all fulfill that specific role. We really wanted a major villain for Vadik, who's that person,
Yeah.
and that she should be a larger than life classic Star Trek villain who had her own reasons for doing what she does." Yeah,
Revenge. It'll
yeah.
be
Well,
revenge.
it'll be revenge. But I mean, Star Trek's always been quite good at having villains who see themselves as the hero. Um,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, have you seen Black Panther?
Both of them, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan's character. That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting from this. Sympathetic villain. Classic sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
What do you think their thing's gonna be?
Oh, something that happened on board the Enterprise D affected her civilization, and she's mad about it and seeking revenge or going to undo history. The end.
Mm, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
We've also got some more talk about the character that I'm most looking forward to. I really hope he's not just like
In
just
it for 10 minutes.
yeah. I really hope that he's in it for more than 10 minutes, and that's the hologram of Moriarty.
Yeah. He'll
Um,
be in it for 10 minutes.
yeah,
Law
I
might
know.
be in it for longer because of Brent Spanner's contract, but they're not going to be mainstays in it, are they?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain their cells are next to each other. I'm just wondering who are they actually going to visit?
I know we're going to be talking about comics in a second, but I believe in the Defiant comic that you're looking forward to, Worf
Hmm.
breaks out Law from a Section 31 prison, and that's set before this. And, well, I should say comics never necessarily hold full canon, so they get erased almost
Hmm.
instantly when something comes out and it isn't correct to the show. But, who knows? They might have tried to link it all together.
We got some. I quite like this section of the interview here, and he's
Mm,
definitely. I think it's a good point to make. They're talking about like there is definitely a major event in the Star Trek universe, but not in a way that undoes it in any way. People hear game changing, like, oh God, we're going to undo some of the Star Trek, so it no longer feels like this or that. That's certainly not what it is, but it will feel like an event in Star Trek history. For instance, in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, that's a good point. Some, world defining stuff happened in the undiscovered country.
mm.
And people didn't get too pissed off about it.
No, no. I think he's almost solely talking about maybe there'll be peace with Romulus, which has kind of been the through line of a lot of TNG, the end of TNG, and then Nemesis, and then Picard for a bit.
Yeah. Well,
But I think it's just the launch of the Enterprise F.
mm,
I
I
think
think
that's the defining moment.
well that makes sense as well because in
Yeah.
in Next Generation, we had suddenly we're in a world where the Klingons are allies with the
Mm.
Federation, and then Star Trek 6 comes out, you know, tells the story
Patches
of
that gap. Yeah.
how that came to be.
Mm.
In Discovery season 3, we have a reunified Romulan Vulcan society. Now in
Mm.
Picard, we're going back and we're telling how that comes to be. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe people won't get pissed off about it, but maybe they will. Maybe they did then. They just didn't have
I,
the
I
internet.
I
You
think a
know?
lot of people weren't pissed off because TNG had already laid the groundwork of it. TNG took the hit of like, oh, Klingons are now friendly. Oh,
Well,
And they look different. Why do the Klingons look different?
we see pictures, from the olden days of the 1980s, from when people used to write their complaints into newspapers and magazines,
Yeah.
and people talk about like, oh, I can't believe that they made Picard. I can't believe they made Kirk a different man and English.
Yeah.
Um, and
The best ones are the ones that are so way off base where they're like, and this Geordie character who's trying to like be like Spock, and it's like I can't even remember that from like the first episode. Where are they getting that from? It's
no,
just like outrageous comments like that are
yeah.
hilarious.
Well, back then, the nerds, the angry nerds, we're all
Yeah,
nerds. We're just not angry nerds. You know,
yeah. We're
back
not.
then, what we would now
There are angry
consider
nerds nowadays.
the incel types. They have a community online that they can complain to and they can rile each other up. Back then, they
Yep.
just got angry in the basement and got
Mhm.
over it in
Yeah.
time, I suppose.
Wrote terrible letters into magazines.
Dear points of view. If you like us, like trailers and teasers and kind of spoiling shit for yourself, then get ready because there's another preview coming soon. Mike, do you like sports, Mike?
Oh, go sports! I love it when
Oh God,
some people beat other people at
um,
a game, and
I love it. I
yeah,
love getting a ball and throwing it somewhere.
yep,
Uh, if you're going to be, so I'm guessing by that you are going to be tuning into the AFC Championship qualifier or something. It's a playoff. It's an NFL playoff game
yeah.
between the
It's the
Bengals and the
playoffs to the
Bills.
Super Bowl, isn't it? Yeah,
Something, yeah. Um,
mm. And we're
yeah,
getting a trailer for Picard, aren't we? Yeah,
yeah. We're getting a
the
trailer,
final
like
trailer, hopefully.
final, final trailer. Hopefully, I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but when I think Star Trek, I like my mind almost immediately goes to Hand Egg.
yeah. I mean, the trouble is there aren't any Ambo Jitsu championships to play the trailer over.
Yeah,
Certainly not widely watched ones.
yeah. Um, I guess this is some synergy coming from
Yeah.
Paramount Plus. The NFL and CBS. You know, the NFL really. They've been trying to get a foothold on the nerd market for decades.
I
I guess.
mean,
Like,
the thing is, Trek wants to be like the MCU in a lot of ways, and it's been standard now for a good number of years, since Iron Man, the first Iron Man, that you have a big Super Bowl trailer and you spend
mhm.
millions on this fucking trailer when maybe some of it should have gone into production
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some movies. And but they're just putting a trailer out and hopefully catch different people.
Mm.
Star Trek '09 did a great job in capturing non-nerds to watch it. So
Yeah.
um,
Not your granddaddy's Star Trek.
not your granddaddy's Star Trek.
No.
Unfortunately, this is also my granddad's Star
This is
Trek, Picard season
absolutely
3.
someone's granddad's Star Trek.
Hmm.
Eh, maybe this is a
Yeah.
good thing. Maybe this is a net good for society. Maybe when the nerds who have Star Trek values actually watch some American football going on, maybe more discussion about the safety of the players will be had.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it? CTE, chronic traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
the thing, the concussion thing. Yeah,
And I did
American
watch the
football's
Will Smith
fucked.
film, but it's yeah. Don't run
Um,
into people full speed.
yeah,
Yeah. Don't have the padding that protects your shoulders. That ends up meaning you can run faster headfirst into people.
yeah.
head first is bad. It's like boxing. Boxing used to be they had less injuries when it was bare knuckle
Yeah,
because
just
you
pull your
wouldn't hit
punches.
people as hard. Yeah.
Yeah, you pull your punches so you didn't injure yourself.
Or you
Yeah,
didn't aim to hit the hardest part of their face, um, which is more dangerous for the people, but less dangerous for your hand because now it's nicely covered.
yeah.
Um, mm,
Fucking honestly.
yeah. Anyway,
Uh, anyway,
let's move on from
um,
Picard. Fuck it.
yes. So we've got a fucking in comic book news. We got a Spock comic coming. Oh no, we've got a Spock
It's
issue of Defiant. That's it.
yeah, it's just one of the alternate covers of Defiant. So Defiant's the comic book that you're really looking forward to, where it's
Yeah.
Worf, Law, Christ knows who else. They're all on
Oh
this
man, some of these
mission.
covers look fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Law's head cut like that's Ghost in the Shell as fuck. It's just his head attached to a lot of wires. One covers like Worf in a fucking ninja suit. Oh,
yeah.
that's fucking sweet.
So it's a spin-off from the Star Trek no subtitle comic where Cisco is trying to find out what's killing gods, including the crystalline entity, and apparently I read this week, or I read the actual comic. Gary Mitchell also got killed, or a version of Gary Mitchell also got killed by this god killer.
Oh goodness. Oh my god.
I know.
Do you think it's Christian Bale's
Gore.
character from yeah,
Yeah,
do you think it's yeah, it's whatever the fuck
it
his
was
deal was
it
going
was
on.
gore.
Or the God
But yeah,
Butcher. What if someone kills Jesus?
I don't think they're going to kill
Again.
Jesus in a Trek comic.
Again.
Yeah,
Not this again. Oh man,
yeah,
look at the uniforms on this cover of Star Trek No Subtitles. Is that what they're
yeah,
wearing in the fucking comic?
yeah.
Yeesh.
That's decent art for it though. The art inside the ones I've been reading isn't as good. I'd say.
Hmm.
Although they've given like on that cover that you're probably looking at, they've given Tom Paris this real rouge. It looks like he's either got rosy red cheeks or he's wearing makeup.
Oh, maybe he's embarrassed.
Ooh,
Oof, maybe he's blushing.
ooh, yeah,
Well, I mean, it's Gates McFadden there. I mean, Dr. Crusher there.
yeah.
Jeez.
Which
Ah.
is astounding. That's more of a likeness. I still don't think that looks much like Gates, but that is infinitely more of a likeness than the actual comic presents. It's like if that character wasn't Ginger and people weren't calling her Crusher, I would have no idea it was Beverly.
I mean, I was going to save this for last, but fuck it. Since you're talking about likenesses of Gates McFadden being all fucked up, have you seen the previews for Dr. Crusher's cameo in the season finale of Star Trek Online?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Ascension.
Mm.
Oh no, what's the fucking the Mirror Universe invasion? The finale, the season finale, Refractions.
Yeah.
Um,
So that
so
this is she's trying to stop evil Wes Crusher, who's become one with Vija.
so sort of, but no, she's trying to.
Okay.
She's not trying to stop him. I don't think she's probably gonna try and stop him, but it's less about stopping him as it is about stopping him being Vija.
Okay.
Yeah, like let's all right, enough of this, let's go home kind of thing. Right?
You've been a
Let's
very naughty boy.
yeah, let's get
Let's
him let's
go.
yeah, get him off the Ferris wheel. It's time to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mentioned that we were getting Crusher a little while ago. I played it. It's kind of cool. You know, you get to
Mm.
play in the game. You get to play as the mirror universe counterpart to whatever avatar you're playing as normally, which is
Yeah.
fun. Um, but you know, they just can't help make your characters a good guy. Like, still, whenever I'm playing it, I'm like, surely I should be doing some. I mean, maybe it says
Yeah.
something more about my personal character that I'm disappointed that I don't get to do more evil shit in the game.
It's I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm tired of the mirror, and I'm not going to play online.
yeah,
There's too
yeah.
many people online for me. If it was a single player experience, maybe if it didn't look as horrible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is it's I mean, it does look horrible. You
Yeah,
see in this preview there, there's because Star Trek Online, it's not the most refined online game,
no,
and the avatars, their lips don't move when they talk.
yeah. It's being an online game and being an old game, or relatively old game.
No, it's
It's
old.
not going to
It's
look
12 years
gold.
old.
12 years old, fucking hell. Oh Jesus. Yeah, it's not going to look good, is it? Really?
No,
A massively multiplayer 12-year-old game. It's a wonder it doesn't look like RuneScape, really.
I mean, I'm not being funny around. It came out in like 2010, 2011, and they
Yeah.
perfected moving mouths in fucking Thunderbirds. Um,
Yeah, not massively multiplayer online Thunderbirds.
I mean, but they don't even go like
Yeah.
like whatever. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Mm.
Hopefully we'll get some. I'll get some nice freebies from the levels. Maybe a belt.
Ooh.
One, or I'll tell you what, the Mirror Universe uniforms have a really nice belt that isn't available in any of the skins or any of the boxes, and I'm like, when are we gonna get that sash, guys?
You couldn't say that in a camper way. When are we going to get that
Hey man, I
sash?
want that fucking sash.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Mm.
But anyway, back to comics. We also got some preview images for the Strange New World comic. Um, Again, the
Did
covers
we?
look cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, a few pages from issue 2. Is it issue
Oh,
2?
yeah, yeah.
From issue 2 of the Illyrian Enigma. Um,
Mm.
the Enterprise in this image looks a lot more like OG Enterprise than it does
Yeah,
Strange New
I've pointed
Worlds
out on
Enterprise.
the Mate It So group that in the background shots, like in the background shots of Strange New Worlds or no Discovery, they occasionally have completely upright nacelles,
Mm,
so it looks more like the TOS Enterprise, just on consoles and stuff like that. And then in this Strange New Worlds comic, they also have straight up nacelles on consoles, but on the
mm.
outside views, it's the swept back ones. So they don't seem to have. I don't know
Yeah,
what they're
look,
doing.
yeah, upright blooming struts. Yep, I see that in the
Yeah,
background. Yep.
it's very weird. It's very weird. I mean, by the time the
It's
comic came out,
Easter
you knew
eggs.
what the ship looks like.
It's Easter eggs in
Mm,
it. Just like,
okay.
he's looking at the blueprints of the ship that he's in, and you can hold up a picture taken from outside the ship, and they're two different images, and you look at them and you
Yeah.
go, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, uh, God, Ortegas's hair looks so bad. It looks full on Hawkeye in fucking Endgame.
Yeah. It's the future or whatever. People can have
Why
different
am I leaning
styles.
in? I've got spectacles now. 15 quid.
15 quid spectacles. You didn't manage to find them around the bins.
No, no, I had to spend money on them, but
Oh.
I'm kind of hazardous to the lifestyle, the life cycle of glasses. So 15 quid's, good idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But yeah, I'll keep on reading it. I need to. What I was thinking of doing anyway is before Resurgence comes out in April, there's the Resurgence comic going, that's supposed to be backstory to it, and I'll probably try and sum up some of the story and some of the characters here, like just before the game comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Ah, yeah. Cool. But yeah, that's it for news. How do you feel about all that?
I'm happy that we were only 2 stories or 3 stories.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd say I managed to sneak in 5. disguising
Oh,
them as three.
I know, I know. One day they'll be, in my dreams, I have no news at all. Yeah.
But yes, so let's get into the meat of this episode. So last week we talked about Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Little Green Men and how it relates to the Roswell incident, the birth of the 20th century UFO conspiracy trend, and very much the birth of modern conspiracy thought.
Yeah.
Um, uh, in
And what have we got
what
this week?
I would say an award nomination worthy episode.
Yep.
Um,
Certainly
you
when
know,
Futurama did it, they got an Emmy, I think.
yeah.
So,
I like to think that any and all of the technical hitches that we had last week just added to the episode's charm.
yeah. Oh, award winning for us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, brave. I wouldn't nominate us in sound or visuals or production or most of the categories. Maybe comedy,
Oh no, vibe.
because anything get nominated in comedy.
No, man, we should get nominated for the Vibe Check Award. We passed the Vibe Check.
Okay,
That's the thing
vibes
that the
all
young
round.
people say.
Yeah,
I think I
I've
know
heard of
what it
young
means.
people.
I
Yeah,
think I know what it means to pass the Vibe Check.
yeah. Anyway,
Um,
what are we talking about this week?
so this week we're going to talk about, so like last week, birth of UFO conspiracy thought. And I want to, let's talk about where it's at now. And to do that, let's take a look at a classic. First up, let's take a look at a classic episode of The Next Generation, The Chase.
Season 6, episode 20.
Yeah, man, great episode.
Here's a good episode. Do you
Nice
want
little.
the
I
minute
was going to say,
rundown?
do you have a minute rundown?
I have a minute rundown, and I've kept it
You
very
should.
short for
You
this
should.
one.
Honestly, if I were you, I would just get onto Chat GPT and just tell
Yeah.
it to sum the episode up in 100 words or less.
2 words. The chase is the chase. So a visit from Picard's old professor, Galen, puts the crew of the TNG crew on a chase around the quadrant to find the origins of life itself, an algorithm imprinted into the DNA which was seeded into planets around that part of the galaxy.
Oh.
On the way, they bump into the Klingons, Cardassians, and Vulcans, who are also looking to the secrets of the algorithm. They find the secrets, a hologrammatic recording. I couldn't work out what I've had autocorrect there. A hologrammatic recording of an ancient humanoid that evolved in that part of the Milky Way before any others and seeded life itself as a monument to themselves.
Yes, great episode.
I had hologrammatic, but it's auto-corrected to hologram attic. I was like, what the fuck have I meant there?
Oh god, it's a
hologram
oh my
attic.
god. Oh my god, just like
Hologrammatic.
it's like in 1899.
Oh my god.
Great show.
Yeah.
What's the name of that actress who plays the I'm gonna say Anunnaki from now on.
Okay. I have no idea how to pronounce this. It is like Salmon Jens. Salome. How the fuck do you pronounce that?
Salmon?
Am I
Samon.
Simone? It's not Simone. It's like Salome Jens. Let's say.
um,
Yeah.
what else has she done in Trek?
She's been the changeling from
Yeah,
DS9, the
she's
female changeling.
Yeah. She's not also in the Voth episode, is she?
No, it's a different woman.
I was gonna say, like, because that's another iconic that person, isn't it?
It didn't come up in my looking, but I know it's not salmon. Please swimming upstream, that woman.
Yeah. But anyway, great episode. I really love the kind of the interactions that we get in that episode between the Klingons, the Cardassians, and the Romulans. That
Yeah.
scene, that scene's a lot of fun. Having them all on the ship, just kind of kicking rocks, filling time while they're going on the chase. There's a lot of fun.
Mm. And it's got one of the funnier data interacting with other species moments when it is, this Klingon walks in and he's like, I've heard you're physically strong. And then he tries to fight him with, and, gets defeated instantly, tries to headbutt him and gets knocked over, and then tries to bribe him.
Yeah,
That's all funny. That's good stuff.
yeah, and then like also nice to have a good-natured Klingon who's like, he gets beaten by Data in this contest of strength, and he kind of loves it. He's like, this guy,
Yeah.
yeah,
You strong bastard. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Interesting early on depiction of a Cardassian to be a strong female character as
Yeah.
well, with a little makeup on the head spoon.
Mm. A little bit of blue.
Aye, ooh, a bit of blue.
Mm.
Um,
Only in my thoughts that was she very blue. Oh. Yeah.
you're not the only one. The character, the professor that
Galen, played by
yeah.
Norman Lloyd, who at one point, unfortunately, passed away 2021, was the oldest working actor from memory and from what I could find. He was like 100 and he was 106 when he passed away in 2021. And how old did he look in this episode? Because he looks like an old bastard in this, really.
He looked about 126.
Yeah. And that was in the 90s,
Yeah.
1994 or whatever.
Yeah,
He's
well, yeah,
old.
I mean, people used to look older. He was probably 34. He was
Mm,
he was 34 when he looked, ugh. Um,
yeah.
so
It.
I mean, it's a good fun episode. Any other thoughts on the episode?
Um, I've got a thought that Troy is useful in this episode, or at least tries to be.
What?
So Picard, he sends away his friend, and he's you hear in voiceover in his logs that um, his attitude towards the peace conference or whatever that they're warping to, rather than going on this archaeological dig, is it doesn't interest him anymore. And she wanders over and says, "How about a walk in the arboretum?" She senses that because she's an empath, and then says, "How about doing this? How about doing that?" And then when his mentor's shuttle blows up, she goes through and says, it's not your fault. You can't blame yourself for not being there, not leaving Starfleet to go on this mission. You'd have died as well. So she tries to be useful. It's more useful than I ever remember Troy being, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Mm,
You just picture it
yeah.
going, "Oh my god, I'm actually sensing something.
Mm,
Shit, I should probably do some work."
yeah.
I mean, well, she's not getting paid to be there. It's socialist society, but
Mm,
she's there for a reason.
yeah. She should be making her way on the bridge. She shouldn't just
Yeah.
be sitting there thinking, "Oh, this is fun. I don't need to do anything up here." Um,
Counselor's log. I did some therapy today. I
yeah.
therapized someone.
Mm,
It was a good day.
it was good. It was good.
Any other
But we want to
thoughts?
we. But my one other thought is probably after what we're probably going to talk about. So the ancient alien sort of piece. So
Hmm.
do you want to go on the ancient aliens?
Yeah, man. Because it's a good fun episode. But Mike, What if I told you that this episode was based on real life? It's
I'm
crazy.
shocked.
It's crazy, I know.
Yeah.
Have you
You've
ever?
been reading those boards again, those forums online,
Oh my
haven't you?
God, I've been doing more than reading boards. I've been trying my hardest to read the incomprehensible nonsense
Yeah.
of of this fucking asshole. Mike, have you ever heard of a man called Eric von Daniken?
Is he Chariot of the Gods?
He is the guy who wrote Chariot of the Gods.
They don't give
Chariot.
us fucking charity, I tell you that.
Oh
These
no,
fucking
mate.
gods.
Well, speaking of charity,
Yeah.
so Chariot of the Gods question mark
Mm.
was written by a fucking douchebag called Eric von Daniken, a self-professed amateur archaeologist.
Mm.
So where do you think he got his archaeology degree?
Did he not get one?
He
And
got
anyone
his
who could,
archaeology degree from the University of Life, baby. He
yeah,
got it in
there
the
we go.
streets. He
Yeah.
got his
I,
university.
I always say, like, when anyone calls himself an amateur anything, it's like, yeah, I'm an amateur anything as well. Like, I'm an amateur
Yeah,
archaeologist.
wait,
I've dug up a bone before. I've
Mike,
dug up a
do you
fossil.
think that you could get access to a trowel?
I think I could. I think I've
Then
probably got a
you
trowel in the
too,
garage.
then you too could be an amateur archaeologist.
Yes.
You've just got to set your mind to it. This is
Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned about reading about people like Eric von Daniken is if you set
Mm.
your mind to something and if you use enough imagination, you can make just about anything fucking true.
Yeah.
So Eric von Daniken is a Swiss gentleman who, before becoming a writer, and this is just think of this as like evidence for character evidence. Before writing Chariot of the Gods question mark, he spent time in a Swiss prison for embezzling money from the Boy Scouts.
Okay. As we all do. As we all
Right?
do.
If I often mention the fact that Joseph Smith, who started the Mormon Church, was a
Mm.
known and prosecuted grave robber before starting a church, and like
Yeah.
it's when there are these facts about a
Mm.
person, it really fucking blows your mind to think that this shit. That some people believe this nonsense. Anyway, Eric von Daniken, like I say, he wrote Chariot of the. I'm really having trouble saying it. Chariot of the Gods? Question mark. Chariot of the
Mm.
Gods?
Question mark?
Which is a loose collection of wild claims based on evidence that he found when going to various archaeological sites from around the world.
Mm.
When asked about their time spent with Eric von Daniken at these archaeological sites doing some amateur archaeology, he has been described as often often confusing other people's money for his own.
Yeah.
Just like getting people to buy shit and expecting them to pay for things, and
Yeah.
horribly offended when they say no, that it's your round.
Yeah.
Um,
You can finance this dig or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the way in which the chase connects to Chariot of the Gods is very much in the character of Galen and his archaeological finds and the message that we get at the end from Salmon the Anunnaki. It's all so confusing. Like I say, I have spent the past week or two looking into this, trying to read one of the 30 books that Eric von Daniken has written on the subject. 30,
See, I think
30 books.
you possibly went down the wrong track in that
Mate.
I don't think it's necessarily a chariot of the gods situation. I think it's just a transpermia situation.
See, this is the thing. The what we're talking about is essentially the
Yeah, yeah.
ancient astronaut theory, which does have some loose connections to panspermia. Um, and he's not, Eric von Daniken is not the originator of the ancient astronaut theory. That was a man called Zachariah Sitchin, who
Mm.
was a playwright.
Yeah.
A
The
lot of
original science fiction author.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it's very difficult to make any sense out of it. It's if you've ever read like Hero with the Thousand Faces by Joseph
Mm.
Campbell, who talks about mythology having tenuous links, but he's very much talking about like it's more in the he's more talking about like poetry and it links to outdated themes of
Mm.
like Jungian ideas of like the collective unconscious and stuff. And that's very much the style with which Chariot of the Gods is written. People. The reason why it got popular is because people liked the kind of conversational style.
Yeah.
It's not bogged down with you know stupid chapters and
Mm.
subjects. Separating things by
Writing styles, grammar.
right, it's very much a stream of consciousness rambling,
Yeah.
and that's why some
Mm.
people like it. Some people being
Um,
anti-intellectualist types and
that old
anti-science.
what's the guy's name who is the meme who's like ancient aliens?
Oh, here comes up
Um,
Giorgio A. Tsoukalos.
okay, that good
Giorgio
pronunciation.
Tsoukalos.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he'll come up.
yeah.
So yeah, essentially
Mm.
the it's honestly it's so difficult to read. I mentioned before it's a gish gallop. You're reading it. I listen to audiobooks, so I'm at work. I'm listening to this audiobook, and in the time it takes for you to go, wait, what did he just say about the Maori?
Mm.
Boom, we're talking about the fucking Irish.
Yeah.
Um, Essentially, what it all boils down to is that all of these crazy examples of ancient architecture and works of art and mythology and legends
Mm.
are all everything that comes in the guise of gods and religion was
Mm.
actually aliens. All of
Yeah.
these examples of crazy architecture, how did they build it? Aliens.
Pyramids.
Pyramids.
How?
How did they build it? Aliens.
Mm.
Um, how is it? How can we verify that though? Shut up. That's
Yeah.
how. Um, you know, the
And probably the most famous. So as you say, there's links into this episode of Trek, but the most famous sci-fi property I would say that is dedicated to this, like that is solely focused on this aspect, is probably Stargate.
Thank you. Yes,
There we
Stargate,
go.
heavily inspired by Chariot of the Gods. Um,
Go.
Absolutely. One of the few good things I think that came from Eric von Daniken's teachings.
Yeah.
But how this relates to the chase is
Mm.
the kind of the unified theory of ancient astronauts that von Daniken proposes. Um, and that is the Anunnaki. Now, do you know, outside of crackpot theories, do you know anything about the Anunnaki?
I used to be into a lot of UFO stuff, so I've read some on the Anunnaki. But let's describe it for the people out there.
So the Anunnaki, outside of crackpot theories, the Anunnaki are ancient gods from
Mm.
Babylonian, Sumerian, Akkadian societies. But it's a modern name that we give them because we don't know their names. Um,
Hmm.
but through various claims in some of Daniken's 30 books on the subject, that lore has evolved as such that the Anunnaki are actually highly technologically evolved aliens that came to Earth, seeded life on this planet, creating humans for a
Hmm.
highly specific purpose. They do. Are you following so far?
I'm following. I'm following. I'm
Okay.
on.
Um, they created humans essentially as drones to work,
Like the Borg.
like worse, because they have an even more highly specific purpose. Um, what do you
They
think
want to
that
have
purpose
sex with
might be?
us.
No, no, way stupider.
Oh.
What
Uh,
do you think the Anunnaki wanted from us?
um. They wanted to drink our blood. Why
Nope,
not?
that's the other guys.
I
They
don't
wanted
know
us.
then.
They wanted gold. They wanted us to mine for gold, Mike.
Mining was going to be my one before blood, and I thought it was too
That's too
too nice.
stupid. No,
Yeah.
no, there is no such thing as too stupid when we're talking about ancient astronaut theory, Mike. They wanted
Mm,
us to mine for gold,
yeah.
according to something. It is believed that gold is a very rare resource, but it is essential for space travel. Um, uh,
It
but
is the
universe,
melange of
yes.
the Anunnaki philosophy or whatever.
um, so, but and that's it's what you would call in logic a post hoc
Mm,
argument. We know through modern technology that we have that gold is important in various electrical setups. There's a lot of
yeah, yeah.
gold in that goes into space missions and stuff. We need gold to do stuff. It's not just
Mm,
pretty, it's also important for conducting electricity because it doesn't react with other things.
yeah.
But it's a very rare resource in the universe overall, but it's
Mm,
there's a lot of it on Earth. um, but due to the evolution of higher consciousness that came from us eating magic mushrooms, they had to abandon the project for ethical purposes. They
ethical
said,
purposes.
yes, we can't just keep forcing these guys to dig for gold. They have minds now. They had the mushrooms, and now they've grown consciousness.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is very strung out from people on mushrooms, clearly being like, "Whoa, look at my brain open up." And
Oh,
maybe this is why we stopped being slaves in the first place.
oh, mate. Honestly, I used to put a certain degree of stock into theories like this, and it was when I was a regular consumer of psilocybin.
Yeah, yeah.
The two are not unrelated.
Mm,
Um, Now, like I said, I tried to take in some of it,
mm.
um, but it's so fucking incomprehensible. Like,
Yeah.
no joke, right? If Joe Rogan calls your material mostly bullshit, then you're in trouble,
Yeah. He'll call
right?
anything, completely factual as long
You
as he's
go,
got
oh, that's
anyone
crazy.
ever.
That's fucking crazy. But no, if
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's calling bullshit on your bullshit, then fucking hell.
Yeah.
Charity of the Gods is it's too
It's
much.
derided. It's
It's
derided everywhere other than in science fiction, isn't it?
Mate, it is derided no place less than in the rest of Eric von Daniken's works. Like I said, 30 books on the subject,
Hmm.
and it's all just regurgitating the same shit from the first book he wrote.
Yeah.
Anyway, couldn't
But there
get
is.
through couldn't get through any of it. There is a documentary from the 70s
Hmm.
that I got through most of it, but I had to pause because it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
You're pissing
right?
yourself laughing.
Oh my God,
Needed
it's
a break.
hilarious, man. The very first scientist that is cited in the documentary, the first scientist that they quote,
Hmm.
Victor von Braun.
Ah, I
The,
mean,
the
he did make the V2.
he was a
Um,
Nazi.
yeah,
He was a Nazi
he
scientist.
he helped
He's
with
the
the
first
politicians.
person they quote.
Yeah,
He's the first fucking person they quote.
at least he's not a flat earther or something like that. You know, at least you know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The documentary, which again heavily inspired by the work of Eric von Daniken, goes on to quote. Um, oh, interesting fact about that documentary: some versions of it that are readily available have a big section from the Iraq National Museum cut out.
Oh
Weird.
no.
It's
Yeah.
weird that in it.
Hmm.
It's almost as though they didn't want people to look up that museum to see how it's doing today.
Oh, they're hiding the conspiracy.
Oh, see,
Oh
maybe.
my god. We need to get to the Iraq Museum now to solve this conspiracy.
So it starts to draw some connections between some human mythology and how it
Hmm.
might relate to aliens. One of the first things it does is it quotes um, excerpts from the visions of Ezekiel
Hmm.
by the river Khyber. It takes selections from Ezekiel 1, chapter 1, verse 1, through to about verse 20.
Yeah.
Um, I've got some here. I looked and saw a whirlwind coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing back and forth, a brilliant light all around. In the center of the fire was a gleam like amber, and within it was the form of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had a human form, but each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the hooves of a calf, gleaming like polished bronze. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands. All 4 living creatures had faces and wings, and their wings were touching one another. They did not turn as they moved. Each one went straight ahead. These are not the visions of angels that we usually see depicted
No.
in works of art. These, I would argue, are way fucking cooler.
They're close to biblical angels more than close
Yeah,
to angels
like
that we
yeah,
see in works of art nowadays.
yeah, man. Um, when I looked, blah 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 blah. I mean, it's all blah 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 blah. We
Yeah.
get to the 4 wheels. Um, When I looked at the living
They were a
creatures, I
car.
saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its 4 faces. The workmanship of the wheels looked like the gleam of beryl, and all 4 had the same likeness. Their workmanship looked like a wheel within a wheel. As they moved, they went in any of the 4 directions without pivoting as they moved. Their rims were high and awesome, and all 4 rims were full of eyes and all around. So as the living creatures moved, the wheels moved beside them. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose too. When the creatures moved, I heard the sound of their wings like the roar of many waters, like the voice of the Almighty, like the tumult of an army. And then the documentary says that sounds just like the liftoff of a 2-stage rocket.
Wheels? I mean, yeah, okay. Sure. It sounded a lot like a car to me. You know, a car with wheels within wheels. Maybe you could call them alloy wheels. You know, sounds more like a car with alloy wheels than a rocket to me, if I'm honest.
It doesn't honestly. I wouldn't say it sounds anything like a fucking rocket.
No.
It then describes a. It then shows you some art. I couldn't find the image. You'll have to go and check it out. But it shows the artwork from the inside of a church in, I think, Armenia or maybe Greece,
Hmm.
where it says, the narrator's like looks kind of like a UFO, doesn't it? A little bit. It then goes from suggesting that it might be a UFO to outright saying that one of them looks like he has his hand on a stick shift.
Because obviously, aliens don't have automatic UFOs. They use stick shift.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's how UFOs work. Like a fucking Trans Am.
Yeah, it's the driving test for a UFO is terrible because there's 40 gears and you're shifting backwards and forwards. Oh, shift up to light speed. You need to put your foot on the clutch and leave off and accelerate to light speed. Yeah,
Oh man, it's honestly, it like I say, it takes a lot of imagination. I
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to show you this picture. I'm about to send you this image on Facebook. I want you to tell me that, and this is going to blow you away by
Mm.
how basically identical these two pictures are.
Oh yes. Well, obviously they're the same.
Mike, would you be blown away if I told you that
Indistinguishable.
those are actually, one is biblically inspired artwork, and the other is a picture of a shuttle pod from the space
A
program.
lunar lander.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that these ancient aliens also used indistinguishable from lunar lander sort of situations. That it's so similar that's called identical. These two pictures.
um, the last wild claim I wanted to mention, which again had me like howling to the point where my partner came in to see what I was laughing at.
Mm.
We talked about the ancient architecture and the pyramids and how they were clearly aided in their process by the assistance of extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Talking about the super precise um, geometry that goes into them. I've got the exact quote here. If talking about the pyramid of Cheops, if you multiply the height of the pyramid of Cheops by 1 billion, it equals almost exactly the
Almost.
distance between the Earth and the Sun. A mere coincidence?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Considering one, it's 5 million miles off.
Yeah.
And two, if you multiply anything by a ridiculous number, you can get to the sun. For
That
instance,
and I think back then there were estimates of how far the sun was from Earth because
oh yeah,
they knew the Earth was spherical through measuring the difference between shadows of obelisks.
hmm
So they knew the approximate diameter of the Earth, and they knew that if the sun was a fixed point, how far away it would have to be. So yeah, maybe it was just people who were smart.
yeah.
Um,
Because see this see you've touched on something there.
hmm,
People claim that these amazing feats of mathematics couldn't have possibly been done by savage humans from thousands of years ago. But like in the grand story of evolution, that's not
hmm,
actually that long ago. They
yeah,
have the same brains as us. If you take
pretty
someone,
much.
if
Yeah.
you took a child from ancient Egypt, brought them to the modern day, and gave them a phone and showed them how to use
Hmm,
it, they'd know how to use a phone.
yeah.
They have the
We've
same
all
brains as
seen
us.
the Brendan Fraser movie Encino Man, where a man gets unfrozen from the ice and he's almost the same.
Yeah,
It's
he
pretty
manages.
much the same,
Yeah,
not at ice age level, but when it comes down to 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, we're pretty much the same.
yeah.
If we're
The
honest.
one thing that isn't the same is how refined the process is, which is why,
Hmm.
despite these amazing feats of mathematics, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
They're not perfect, you know. Um,
Hmm.
uh, Anyway,
You don't have the ability to make glass as precisely, to make telescopes as precisely, and measure stuff as precisely. That's work how it goes.
but if you time something by a number that is as ridiculous as a billion, like you may as like it's so high, it may as well not be real.
Yeah.
I am 6'1". If
Hmm.
you multiply my height, I did the maths. If you
Yeah.
multiply my height by
By
81
billion.
billion 840 million, it is almost, but a little bit more than the distance between the surface of the Earth and the surface of the Sun.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
The only way it would be, you know, the only way I would accept that as even evidence that they were thinking about the distance between the Earth and the Sun was if they'd scrolled on the side of it. If you had etched on the side of it, I don't know, two names in a heart, and the distance to the sun is this, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's just complete junk. As you
Yeah.
say, it's just a random number.
Well, I guess it's a shame that the Egyptians were notoriously terrible at writing things down and documenting things. Oh, wait,
They weren't.
they were
Not
really good
well,
at it. They fucking documented
for
loads of shit.
yeah.
I saw a thing today.
Depending on the generation of Egyptians,
I
yeah.
saw a video today where a man is talking about a stone they found where an ancient Egyptian business owner had carved into the rock the reasons why it would be okay for one of his employees to take the day off work.
Yeah.
Two of which being to brew beer and to help out your wife because she's on her period. It's totally fine.
I mean, it's good to know labor laws have really been on a downward trend worldwide.
Right. Like it's like I say, these are just, but these are these things that I've listed are
Yeah.
just some of the many wild claims that are made in the work of Eric von Daniken, and the people who are inspired by him that can be easily debunked if you just look up one thing. Just Google it and click the first result. I mean, they obviously didn't have Google, but you could go to the library and look at the first open book.
Well, maybe this is a point to talk about what is probably more a realistic theory that it still links into this episode, The Chase, is transpermia.
Yeah.
Which
totally.
Transpermia is the theory, not necessarily that that there was an ancient civilization that decided to seed or act as gods or provide technology to the earth, to the humans. But transpermia is the theory that earth was seeded in some way, whether that be through bacteria that could live in space being dropped off here, or an asteroid hit that carried bacteria, or one of a multitude of things that life originated away from Earth and then was carried here. So it's not necessarily contingent on a intelligence at all. It could have just been a bit of moss on an asteroid that accidentally hit the Earth.
Absolutely,
and is pretty much of the episode in that transpermia doesn't say that there are theories of direct transpermia where it is seeded by another, it's intelligence driven, and that's pretty much The Chase, the episode, where thrown into the primordial goo is some protein strands that turn humans, that end up creating humans and Klingons and other things that look exactly like humanoids, through fucking miracles, let's say, because Trek writers don't understand evolution.
But you try telling that to one of these guys. A lot of this kind of thought comes. It's really, I think of it as kind of like like an atheist hangover. You know, when someone, you know, kind of, you know, breaks free from a kind of a religious delusion, and they still can't quite wrap their head around life coming from nothing, which isn't what happened. So they go,
And
oh well, because
even if
panspermia explains that life didn't come from nothing. It comes from the collision of supermassive objects fucking colliding, bringing bacteria over from each other. You know?
But that doesn't explain life from nothing. It's such a very short-sighted excuse from militant atheists, let's say, that try and adopt it as a theory. That you go, right, well, it can't be religious because probably life was dropped off from here from an asteroid at some point. And then you go, okay, but the easiest way to get people out of that is going like, well, it doesn't matter generally where life comes from. Life could come from this planet. Life could come from fucking Mars and something carrying it over here. But you need at some point in your theory to have an explanation for the source of life in general. And science has that. But people who aren't willing to read don't, you know, absorb that, and they go, oh, transpermia, we got shelled by fucking asteroids, and that carried Earth here, like life here, so that's the origin of life. And you go like, that's the origin of life here, that's not the origin of life.
The thing is, you know, it's okay to say we don't know. It's okay to say that. Instead of going, well, we don't know, so therefore fucking the Anunnaki made us to mine for gold.
So two things I've been saving on this. Cool. One, Star Trek Online, your favorite, your buddy, says that the aliens, the ancient humanoids, the hominoids, or whatever you want to call them, that we see at the end of this, are actually the preservers from the TOS episode, the Paradise Syndrome. Probably one of the worst, or at least the most racist episode of TOS, where Kirk thinks that he's a ancient American for a hot month or so. And there's a group of American, Native Americans who've been taken away from Earth and saved and preserved on this planet. Star Trek Online says it's the same species as the ancient hominoids in this. There are also theories around that say that the changelings are the evolution of this species in the same way that Star Trek evolution works, in which case, Star Trek evolution is just, does that thing look like this thing? Doesn't matter then. Yeah, let's say it evolved. Because obviously same actress, same looking. The changelings say that, the changelings say that at some point they went from monoforms, so non-changelings, into changelings. So why wouldn't they be the exact same species? Of course.
Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible. No doubt there's a book on it. And if there isn't a book, there will be at some point.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be written by Eric von Daniken's fucking corpse. He's not dead yet, I don't think, but any day now. Yeah. We've got a quote about Eric von Daniken by good old Carl Sagan. Oh man, it's such a relief whenever Carl Sagan comes up.
A scientist, a proper scientist.
Honestly, it's like, save us, save me, Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
Talking about Eric von Daniken's work, that writing, as careless as von Daniken's, whose principal thesis is that our ancestors were dummies, should be so popular, is a sober commentary on the credulousness and despair of our times. I also hope for the continuing popularity of books for Chariot of the Gods in high school and college logic courses as object lessons in sloppy thinking. I know of no recent books so riddled with logical and factual errors as the work of von Daniken.
He was really the Siskel and Ebert of theories of space, slamming down on these absolute crap theories.
But that quote is from, I believe, the early 80s. And that quote comes before the publishing of work by another fucking asshole. But to talk about him, first we
need to move on to our second episode.
We need to move on to another episode because of the many good things that came from Chariot of the Gods, like the Chariot of the Gods documentary, Stargate, other things presumably. There were also
Stargate Atlantis.
The Stargate Atlantis. There are other things, terrible things. Scientology, Heaven's Gate, ancient aliens, and the work of David Icke. But before we get into the work of David Icke,
get to that,
what do we talk
should
about?
I talk about this episode? So Voyager, I think it was season 3-ish, maybe. Season 3, maybe let's call it episode 20 again. Voyager, Distant Origin. It's around that. Dinosaur people find Voyager or dead Voyager crew members on a planet and link their genetics to theirs. They posit the distant origin theory to the Ministry of Elders, who are insulted both at being related to mammals and that it's against their doctrine that they don't have dominion, that the space they were born and raised in. They find Voyager and kidnap Chakotay to prove their point, but one of their scientists gets stuck on Voyager as well. Voyager examines the Voth, the species, and finds out they're evolved from dinosaurs, specifically hadrosaurs. Chakotay isn't enough proof, and there's a sham trial accusing the professor of heresy. The professor only recounts his distant origin theory when the elders threaten to blow up Voyager. Bloody dinosaurs all over the place.
Dinosaurs. This is a great episode. I enjoyed it. It reminded me of that TV show from the 90s, Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The family sitcom where, the son had a leather jacket and the baby was like, not the mama.
And that ends in the oblivion. That ends in the asteroid hitting them and destroying them. Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Fucking metal. Yeah,
man.
It is an interesting shot episode. Like, there's a lot of close-ups and Dutch angles in it. Like, it is directing wise, and really I should have looked up the director.
Really good prosthetics. Really want to get a good look at those prosthetics,
Well, they're shot from like this distance away, so they better be good. Half
lower,
the time you're just
lower,
getting the face
lower.
and at a Dutch angle, so it's like this.
Yeah.
But it's a good episode generally. It makes no fucking sense, as we'll get on to. Before we get on to the content, do we have any general points on the episode?
Yeah, I thoroughly I really like it. I think that it does a good job, that Star Trek can kind of sometimes be a bit hit and miss in, which is, the portrayal of a culture. It has it was a very kind of classic sci-fi kind of window into a monoculture where it has this, structured religious hierarchy based around science. It was very kind of Asimovian, if that's a word. Very old school sci-fi. I like the idea that we have always we live, we're this hermit society on these ships, and we have always been on these ships.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm getting to the end of the Foundation series, and way off in the future, people have completely abandoned the idea that humans came from one planet, because we've spread to so many different planets. Like,
Yeah.
it's so far in the distance of time that it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where humans came from. We're already everywhere. I like, and it's, very, I kind of have the same feelings about things like when people talk about what happened before the Big Bang. It doesn't really matter. Like,
Yeah, generally. If the Milky Way wasn't here, why does it matter anyway?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good, I think it's an all right Chakotay episode. We talked in the green
I'll
room
give it that.
beforehand.
Yeah.
That it managed to avoid a lot of the tropes that Chakotay's character falls into.
He at no point says my people say this.
No, no.
My
His
people.
his people don't have. It's almost as though ancient alien theory is nonsense, because his people don't have a saying about them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
No,
proof
to be
that you
fair,
need.
there is that episode
Oh
where
God, yeah,
his
that
people are
happens.
also ancient aliens.
Oh
Yeah,
God damn it, man! It's everywhere.
yeah. We should have rolled that into this as well, but I
Oh
can
my God,
barely
there's
remember the
just so
episode.
much.
They've
There's
got the
just so much.
yeah. My general thoughts are, or my non-connected thoughts to what we're talking about. I like the world building, as you say, where the guy's just got a lamp on his desk and he's just like licking flies off his lamp as he goes by, and that they find these fossil remains of humans, and they're going like, oh, they must have like lacked a smell gland, or they mustn't have been able to smell because the gland that we have to smell they don't have. And then they do a simulation and extrapolation of what humans look like, and it's the same way that we do extrapolations on, oh, this is what Caesar looked like, where they go like, oh, that all humans are green because we're green, so we think that humans were green.
Yeah.
There's also, they follow the trail of Voyager by pieces that Voyager has left behind, like tricorders and stuff like that. And I think we've spoken about before in the past that they find Voyager warp plasma somewhere, which this is season 3. And they only connect to Voyager because the bones on the planet the Kazon left them on, I think. And the reason the Kazon had a real falling out with them is Voyager refused to give them warp plasma. So good work, Voyager, not polluting the galaxy with giving them advanced tech.
Yeah, we're not going to give it to these guys, but we might trade it with these guys.
Oh, we'll just leave shit around. They left a tricorder around. They've left warp plasma around. They're like, bah,
Yeah.
And
because the crew of Voyager didn't see that episode of Enterprise where they went back for that communicator.
Called the tricorder, I think, or tricorder.
Something like that.
Yeah. And my last point is Star Trek still not knowing how evolution works. Janeway talking to the computer in the holodeck, and they go, what's the common ancestor of humanoids and this species? And it brings it up. And she goes, okay, now show us the most advanced version of that species from the Earth's fossil record. And Chakotay at some other point says Earth has got a full fossil record, which no, it doesn't, Chakotay. That's not how fossil records work.
Full? What do you mean full?
Yeah. A full fossil record would be having a fossil record of every single fucking animal ever, which no, it doesn't have, Chakotay. That's not how it works. But then Janeway says to the computer, extrapolate 4 billion years of evolution on this dinosaur, and it looks exactly like the person they've got in sickbay, and she's like, I was right. It's
calculating probable environmental explanation,
societal. What are the other species and stuff like that? It is just absolute bollocks. And I can only think, because the computer does it in like less than a second, that it must just go like, she probably means the person in sickbay, doesn't she? and brings up a scan of a person in sick bay.
Yeah, just give her that.
Yeah. There's one more thing on the episode, and it is maybe we're going to talk about it, but Chakotay gets captured and starts having a conversation with this professor on the ship, talking about the origin and the distant origin theory. And without any evidence, Chakotay posits and then gets widely accepted by this professor that these dinosaur people evolved on a special bit of the Earth that has since been lost, whether by asteroid hit or whatever, and then left the Earth. And they got so evolved, they got language and built spaceships and left. I don't know where Chakotay's got that from, because
he got that from the teachings of Zacharias Hitchens and Eric von Daniken, and their talkings and their when we get their musings on the Lumerians.
But literally episodes before this, Voyager ran into humanoids or humans that were taken off Earth. The what's her name? The flyer, female pilot. Oh Christ, I can't remember the name. But then got taken away to this planet from Earth, and he doesn't think, maybe the same. Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart, yeah.
He doesn't think maybe the same happened to you. He's like, no, your species evolved to fly into space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without any record of that happening, you flew away.
Well, he is a scientist, and his science is anthropology, which is, he could be an amateur archaeologist.
Yeah.
It's all
he's a real, maker-upper of stuff. I'll give Chakotay
that. Absolutely. He certainly made up being a Native American.
Yeah.
One other thing, if you are a fan of this episode, Distant Origin, you might also be a fan of Doctor Who, The Hungry Earth / Cold Blood.
Okay.
Great episode. It's the Silurians. It's the same story.
Okay, is it pretty much the same?
Walked off to space, left some behind. Eventually, they came back. So you got the Sea Devils and the Silurians, different offshoots of the same species. Slightly more realistic interpretation of evolution, since they have different evolutionary paths based on having different environments.
Then they don't probably ask a computer, show us what evolution would happen over 4 billion years, please.
Yeah.
Or what is it? It's not 4 billion. I forgot what it is.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I enjoy this episode. Do you like this episode?
I quite like this episode. It's a good Chakotay episode, which are few and far between, really. He doesn't go native in this one, which Chakotay stories normally end up with him going native or pulling a skill out of his arse, like boxing. So, it's fair enough. And there is that, like some good track episodes, there's a good allegory where it is a mixture of doctrine and science and, bumping up against a species that isn't as advanced as the Federation in that way. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, man. It's always good to be skeptical within reason, strongly held truths, don't have to be taken, at face value. It's healthy to be skeptical, to challenge ideas, rather than be dogmatic. Speaking of challenging ideas, what if I told you, Mike, that this episode is based in real life?
No.
Now, anyone who has spent any time on the internet has encountered at some point the reptilian conspiracy. The conspiracy.
And if you haven't, that's because the reptilians are keeping it from you.
Oh, mate, tell me about it.
Yeah.
The conspiracy of blood drinking human Archon hybrids from the Alpha Draconis system, secretly controlling world governments and Hollywood. This theory has origins in the work of science fiction writer Robert E. Howard.
Yeah.
Yes, his work, The Shadow Kingdom, which drew ideas from, again, mythology surrounding fallen civilizations such as the Lemurians and Atlantis. He also wrote Conan the Barbarian.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. But his work also inspired the work of one of the world's biggest dickheads and recently, relatively recently, banned from YouTube, former footballer David Icke.
How only recently banned? I mean,
it was during COVID.
But how anyone gave him a platform in the first place is astounding to me.
Man, he still does speaking tours. And if you go to one of his speaking tours, he will reveal to you the truths behind his book, The Biggest Secret. Very difficult to search for. You know,
well, it's not SEO friendly. The Biggest Secret.
Nope. Like
it's like a book called. I recently watched the movie called Men, and it's very difficult to search for just men online because you'll get different results than what you're after.
Great film.
Yeah, good film.
Just for a kick, I typed David Icke into TikTok. Let me just get it up.
Is he banned from there yet, or is he?
Well, his content relating to him is banned from there. I'll just read what happens when you type it in. It says, "Get the facts. We encourage you to verify the facts and trust credible sources when seeking information about the Holocaust and its legacy."
So even TikTok, famously a way to, disrupt parts of civilization, doesn't want to be associated with David Icke.
No. Now, David Icke revealed in The Biggest Secret that, would you believe it, the world is controlled by blood-drinking Alpha Draconians who work for the Archons. Because this all builds from the work, of Von Daniken. Von Daniken crawled so that David Icke could walk. After the Anunnaki left, because it was morally reprehensible to keep forcing humans to be their slaves after they grew consciousness from eating magic mushrooms. And that's when the Archons stepped in. And the Archons are, giant lizard people, again, depicted all around the world in various works of art and in various mythological tales, who have enslaved countless planets around the universe. They are here to lower our psychic vibrations, to bring us down, to feed off our energy, and to drink of our blood. Now, how do you think David Icke came across this information?
The honest answer, I think he probably thought, I can't say Jewish people are holding us back. So if I say lizard,
he does. He says that. He says it straight up.
Well, yeah, he probably thought I need a gateway drug for calling, for saying Jewish people are holding us back. And if I call them aliens in skin suit humanoid vessels, then maybe that will be a entry point for some people.
Well, No, you'd be wrong because
Really?
David Icke, contrary to popular belief, actually does outright call the Jews out on. Well, I'm not even going to say calls them out on stuff.
Calls them out implies that he's right.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah.
he's straight. He is super anti-Semitic, like outright.
Yeah.
And he's also super anti-reptilian. No, he got all of this information through psychic revelation.
Oh, great. More magic mushrooms?
I don't know. I think that might fucking chill him the fuck out. No, he reveals to us that that without the lowering of our psychic vibrations, that we as a society would be more in tune with a great unifying consciousness that has intentions about directing our evolution to a higher plane of existence. But it's the reptilians that want to bring us down. Okay, how this relates to distant origin, there are species of reptilians. There are many different species of reptilians, some of which evolved into the archons, left, went to a different dimension, and they came back from that dimension. Does any of this sound like bullshit?
100% of it.
That's because you're part of the deep state, Mike. Because David Icke also reveals that the reason why modern conspiratorial thought is seen by society as outlandish and ridiculous is a result of the meddling done by the powers that be, the reptilians, and, like I said before, the outright Semitic things. Let me just things. The kosher Nostra.
Okay. If you take the anti-Semitic off it and you take the reptilians off it, I can believe that the aura of conspiracy theories has been passed, and there's evidence of this, never mind from the CIA, to cause infighting and to make people believe in the same way we were talking about last week that, oh, that's not a spy plane, that's a UFO, that's aliens. That I can believe. I can even believe that there's a certain sect of people that get child's blood pumped into them, thinking it is.
Well, we know that's the thing. That's a known thing. In fact, scientifically proven, pumping young person blood into an old person will make them a little bit healthier.
Yeah, I can believe all that. I don't believe in a Jewish cabal. I don't believe in a skin-suited lizard people. I can believe in what is it's not the Bilderberg group, is it? Or like I can half believe in that. No, what's the group that's the Rothschilds is the family. The Bilderberg group is the one that worship the owl, isn't it?
You mean the people out at the lodge?
At the lodge, yeah. I can half believe that, yeah. I don't think they're skin-suited aliens.
Yeah, no.
I don't think there's a religious aspect of it. I just think they want money.
Yeah, secret societies are a known element to the world, to the higher echelons of society. Like, we know that fucking rich white dudes get, they put robes on and give each other hand jobs and shit. That's a thing.
Fuck pigs. We literally know a prime minister fucked a pig.
Yeah. Happens all the time. Nothing weird about it.
No, who hasn't? I mean, obviously.
Yep. This guy, like we're saying, he has some genuinely dangerous ideas. We talked about him being anti-Semitic. Now, from what I've been managed to glean from researching the topic, again, hard to get hold of any of his material, and I'm certainly not going to pay for it.
Good, yeah.
But essentially, like, it's from what I can tell, it's actually kind of a common misconception that he is using reptilians as a metaphor for Jewish people, because he is outright saying terrible shit about Jewish people whilst also claiming to not be anti-Semitic.
So does he frame? Does he frame the not the reptilians? Then what you're saying is he's not saying that Jewish people are reptilians in disguise. Is he saying that they're connected at all?
He's
For
saying they are
his terrible
connected.
conspiracy
He's
theories?
saying they are connected. That they work with them, and that the reptilians are a separate thing, but that the he's what was this?
For people who are listening and can't see my face, imagine pain. Imagine
you do look like you're in physical pain.
yeah.
He said that, like, again, while saying I'm not anti-Semitic, but I strongly believe that a small Jewish clique, which has contempt for the mass of Jewish people, worked with non-Jews, and that's the metaphor.
Reptilians.
Those are the reptilians to create the
Okay.
First World War, the Russian Revolution, and the Second World War. And how is it right that while this fierce suppression of the truth of the Second World War goes on, free copies of the Schindler's List, the movie,
The Schindler's List.
of Schindler, free copies of Schindler's List are given to schools to indoctrinate children with the unchallenged version of events.
Schindler's List isn't even about the whole story of the war and what caused it and whatever. It's just a microcosm of it.
It's just a way for the teacher. It's just how the teacher deals with a hangover. They just put the Schindler's List on. The Schindler's List.
The Schindler's List, you keep calling it. Schindler's List is a microcosm, and the only way you can say it's a conspiracy is by saying, you know, the extermination of Jewish people didn't happen. And you have to be ridiculous. You have to be, you know, put your arms up with a BMP and call people lizard people. Sort of ridiculous to think that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. While claiming to not be anti-Semitic, he also refers to shadow organizations as ultra-Zionists, Sabatian Frankist death cults.
Sabatian.
As in the Sabbath.
Yeah.
The Kosher Nostra, and regularly refers to the people working with the reptilians as Rothschild Zionists. Look, I'm not saying anything about Jewish people, but you want to be careful of these fucking Rothschild Zionists and their conspiracy to drink blood, which is a very old like slur against Jewish people. Like,
yes,
people have been saying that about Jewish people for hundreds of fucking years.
Yeah, and we should say when we both said about the drinking blood piece being we can believe that sort of thing, that not necessarily connected to Jewish people, connected to rich people thinking they can be
rich people
longer.
Doing weird shit.
Yeah. Not a anti-Semitic. Jewish people drink blood. Sort of.
No,
piece.
rich white guys do weird shit, regardless of their ethno-religious background. He also claimed. Guess who he claimed did September 11?
Jewish
Israel.
laser beams.
Israel.
Okay.
No, Jewish laser beams was COVID.
Oh yeah.
He says, how can I be anti-Semitic when I'm referring to the reptilians as Aryans? How can I be anti-Semitic when not everyone that I've claimed to be reptilian is Jewish?
Oh, not everyone, just a proportion. Okay, cool.
Including, my favorite, a joke I love to reference very often, the British royal family. Of course, they are not lizard people, but they may have made a pact with the devil.
They're werewolves, as we know from Doctor Who.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, the here's the question: super harmful ideas being spread. Again, being sucked up by people who should we maybe verify some of the things he's saying? No, that's hard. Let's just take it at face value.
Yeah, just don't give them a platform. TikTok, I don't like as a platform, and I'm not on it, as we know. But in the case of them saying, "How about not searching for David Icke?" I can 100% get behind. Congratulations,
Totally.
TikTok! I'm now your biggest fan.
Some of the more harmful ideas that he proposes he believes. Have you ever heard of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion?
I haven't.
It is a Russian pre-World War II fabricated text that is presented as such to be an outline for the Jewish people to take over the world, essentially. And it was circulated in Russia in 1903, translated into many, many languages, and is presented as like, look what we found.
Yeah.
We found this. This is their plan. This is their plan for society. And he has taken this idea and said, look, I'm not anti-Semitic. But the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is fucking spot on.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily talking about just Jewish people or Rothschild Zionists. But it was talking about reptilians. Harmful ideas that have resulted in people's deaths. In 2009, a guy fucking stabbed his brother.
Because his brother was a reptile? Or?
Because his brother was a reptilian. He then called the police to say, just basically like, got him. You can come pick up this fucking lizard.
Like he's thinking he exists in the, like, They Live, the film or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full on. He's on speaking tours still to this day. But he was picked up and detained at the border in Canada.
Woo, go Canada.
Fucking go Canada. Basically just like made up a bunch of reasons as to why they should detain him, and like just held it.
Boo Canada. Just, you don't need a made up reason. He's trying to he's a terrible racist.
Well, we can't hold him on grounds of being a fucking creep.
Countries should be able to generally deport people for having terrible ideas. There's no reason why Abu Hamza should have to, we should have to keep Abu Hamza here, or the likes of David Icke should be able to wander into a country and do a speaking tour and sow discourse between people. It's not a good idea generally. So
in 2019, the Australian government cancelled his visa.
Exactly.
Just like didn't even wait for him to get to the border. Just like, yeah, no, don't even. You're not invited, mate.
Yeah. Go Australian Border Force.
He has also been banned from entering the Netherlands.
Yeah. All 100 people in the Netherlands go, yes, good work.
Yep. Yep. They're all shaking hands. It won't take them long.
Yeah.
Super harmful to society. Like, part of me thinks that, like, just a great quote from his autobiography. I made no effort in school.
Doesn't
Just
show.
that. Just that. Great quote. I made no effort in school. I remember how I said that he got his conclusions from psychic revelation. Well, the reason why he got that through psychic revelation and would never go on to verify any of it is because he described the scientific method as bollocks. The scientific method being the process by which we eliminate ideas that do not produce consistent results. Yeah, no, fuck that.
Even fucking animals have a version of the scientific method where, you know, if you want to train a dog, if you've ever trained a dog, you're training it through the scientific method. That's the only reason a dog understands you, is it does a thing multiple times and you either praise it or you know, don't, and it learns through the evidence that it's given. And it can't understand that evidence in the way we can, but it can fucking understand evidence. So congratulations for being dumber than a dog.
Absolutely. 100% dumber than a dog. Here's a quote that I was trying to find. Found it. Again, I'm not anti-Semitic, but thought patterns in the collective Jewish mind have repeatedly created that physical reality of oppression, prejudice, and racism, which matches the pattern, the expectation programmed into their collective psyche. They expect it, they create it, but I'm not being anti-Semitic, man. Like,
well, if you say you're not being anti-Semitic or you say you're not being racist, then famously you're not being racist with whatever you say next. That's just how life goes. You can say I'm not being racist, but and then say any sort of horrific thing you want, and that gets you away from it, doesn't it? That's just life.
Yep. Now, how do you spot a reptilian, Mike?
Dry skin, because I sometimes suffer from dry skin. You know, moisturizing a lot.
Yeah, well, David Icke claims that you can spot a reptilian through intense red hair. He's definitely British. Definitely British. He's definitely British. Super racist.
The Irish are all reptilians. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Changing because their shape changes. Fluttering of the eyes as an involuntary shape-shifting response. Hence why there's all those videos on the internet of like, oh my God, Justin Bieber's a reptilian.
You browse a different internet than I do.
Oh man, it finds me. Like the internet is filled with videos of like weird glitches in videos where someone goes, oh my God, they're a fucking shape-shifting reptilian.
Yeah.
Low blood pressure.
Okay. Because obviously the way you test your friends, you know, to make sure they're not reptilian is you strap on whatever and pump up their arm to see what their blood pressure is.
And a strong sense of smell.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a fucking dildo.
Yeah.
But
and it does almost take the episode down a notch for me. The to relate it back to Distant Origin again, where you go, you understand that it's kind of railing on those people, but at the same time, I don't want to see or hear anything from those kind of people, even in science fiction, really.
Yeah, it's, you know, it rails on those people using the motif of their belief, but it kind of misses the mark a bit. The series that came out a little while ago, Lovecraft Country.
You were a big fan, weren't you?
Oh my God, it's such a wonderful example of weaponizing a person's harmful ideas against them. It takes all the themes and motifs from Lovecraft's work. Lovecraft being so inherently racist and it's seeping into the metaphors of his work. But it takes those metaphors and those motifs, and it uses them, weaponizes them against racism in a perfect way. I fucking loved Lovecraft Country.
Was it a one and done, or was it
One and done,
open ended?
yeah.
And okay,
One and
I'll
done.
get to it at some point.
Absolutely. Like, watch the show and then read the book, or read the book and then watch the show, because they're kind of companion pieces to one another.
Okay.
The show references the book, as in, like, you know,
the Necronomicon or whatever.
No, as in, like,
not the Necronomicon. That's
no,
the,
as in, like, because
one,
there's like a multiverse element in one of the episodes. In one of the episodes, he has a copy of the book, and then in the next episode, he's like, "This isn't how it happened," because it happens differently in the show. It's good.
Okay.
Just before we finish up, I just want to talk about another thing that David Icke has not been allowed to be involved with, which is the show Ancient Aliens. And if you're interested in finding out, hearing any more of the kind of nonsense we've been, because it is fun. It is fun to watch. There are many clips on YouTube, and you can, 3, 4, 5 minute long clips from episodes of Ancient Aliens, a show produced by student of Eric von Daniken, Giorgio A. Tsoukalos.
Mad hair makes good memes, or is good memes.
Aliens. Honestly, like, again, I tried to sit and watch it and take notes, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's just a gish gallop of wild claims that they don't try to provide evidence for. And in fact, often they will present evidence to the contrary and immediately cut to Giorgio going, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. What? They moved the blocks to the pyramids using a sled? I don't know, man. Those blocks are pretty heavy. I mean, they could have built a really strong sled, or Atlantis.
Ridiculous.
And it's
I'd almost advise watching all that without an open mind, because stuff they talk about gateway drugs, but small conspiracy theories can be gateway drugs to bigger conspiracy theories, and it's not long before you believe in Q and they're like, it's just not worth being a fucking idiot.
You've just got to watch it purely as a form of like absurdist entertainment. And just watch the clips as well, because much like the work of Eric von Daniken, the show, like, as it goes on, it just starts to reference itself to the point where I'm fairly certain, like, I've not seen them, but I've heard tell that a lot of the later episodes are actually just previous episodes cut up and rearranged. It just becomes self-referential. And like, there's a great video by a YouTube channel. I'm just going to get it up, because he talks about like alternate histories, fake histories. He'll do like projective histories of, like, what if the Vikings settled in America and integrated with, but what if they did it en masse and integrated with the native population? How would society have changed? How would, like, Norse metallurgy affected the societies in Native America? How would it have affected trade? How many blonde people would there be? Alternate History Hub, the history of the world according to Ancient Aliens. It's 23 minutes long, and he makes a very good point of, like, after a while, it stops being entertaining, and it even stops being creative. And it is also, as we mentioned, inherently racist. It presents things that Black and brown people did in history as being impossible to have been accomplished by humans at the time. Meanwhile, it presents things that white people did as having been done by them, but for alien reasons.
Yeah. Which is all obviously ridiculous.
It's outrageous.
So anyway, so the recommendations for this week. Apart from that, if you want to do all the normal things that YouTube people ask or podcasters ask, like subscribe, review, follow us on socials, all the links are down below.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, shall we say
Live long and prosper, motherfuckers.
and peace and long life, double dumbasses.
Hell yeah.